Hello and welcome back to another Arcane Ventures 10-minute investor eye test. Today, we're going to be looking at Towns, a Web3 group chat protocol and app, and a blockchain where you can own your own digital town square. Sounds a little bit like a Discord competitor to me, but I'm not sure. And I'd like to welcome Sasha, my co-founder, and my co-host for the show. And Sasha, do you know anything about digital town square, town, whatever this app is? Apparently it's a blockchain too.
Yeah, well, real quick, that just gave me an idea. We should get guests for this show. That would be incredible. But yeah, I don't know anything about towns. It was just brought to my attention a little while ago when you told me about it, and after looking at some of the numbers, it looks like a massive launch. So I'm excited to dive in and see what they're building and what they're going to do. Because as many of our viewers might know, Discord is such a mess. I hate navigating Discord. I don't like using it at all. And so if there is like a nice sensible Web3 based competitor, the industry really needs this.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's hard to say that a lot of these DAOs are truly decentralized when we're relying on the same boring, tried tools like Discord, which is, to be honest, I can't do it. I can't use Discord. So I guess for those that haven't watched one of these videos before, we take 10 short minutes to dive into a potential investment here, which will be the token for the purpose of this video. So we're going to try to determine what that token does and if it makes sense to hold or does it make sense? Is it correctly built for this system? And not just that, I think another potential layer to add some intrigue and interest to this episode, Sasha, would be to determine if we would actually use this, like for our own company or our own lives, because it sounds like a pretty useful thing. And I'm always extra interested to check out products that I would actually use, not just something that I would hold a token for and invest in. So I guess without further ado, we can dive in and check out Towns and see what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we've got 10 short minutes on Towns, starting right meow boom. And so we've got crypto rank up, and as you guys can see, this asset is live right now. I think it launched yesterday, the day before, but it's ranked at number 436 of all cryptocurrency assets. And look at some of these numbers, man. It's already at $400 million FDV with a $90 million market cap. So like, this is nothing to dismiss. But yeah, let's dive into some of the fundraising and see, what's happened here. I see some big logos and names already. So we've got the Series A, Anderson Horowitz, Framework Ventures, and Benchmark. Huge names, 25 million. And then A16Z follow-on, Coinbase came into the mix there. And an ICO on Echo, which is fastly becoming like the premier ICO launchpad.
Yeah, Echo's been killing it lately, and that's like top pedigree right there. That's as good a cap table as you could possibly hope for, I think, in Web3. And, an important note that we've touched on before in other episodes, but I would like to reiterate is anytime that you have a lead and, big major VCs following on, it means that they've not only bought in once, but twice. They're encouraged by what they've seen, the growth that they've seen, and they're encouraged that you're going to continue to raise and you're going to build, and then you're going to hit that Series C, and maybe they'll triple dip. But anyways, if they're happy and they've renewed their interest and their investment into this, then that's obviously an assuring sign for anybody that might be using it or building for it or investing in a future round.
That is such a good point. I mean, I've said it before. This has been like a philosophy that I heard a long time ago around the art of investing, and it stands true here. There might be a million different reasons why someone would sell a position or exit a position, but there's really only one reason why they would enter a position or invest. And the fact that A16Z followed on in investment in the Series B shows how much conviction they have in this. So that's really cool. I'm looking here at the token supply, node inflation. So like you mentioned, a blockchain, maybe they've got like a node network to support the decentralization of the blockchain, but that's exciting.
Yep. Yeah, and like I can't believe I'm saying this, but like 40 million raised is a pretty modest sum for launching a blockchain right now, because we're seeing some ridiculous raises lately, like 200, 300 million. Like Pump Fund, I think they launched. They raised 650 million, and it's not even a blockchain. So some wild raises lately, And this seems like I can't believe I'm saying that 40 million is a reasonable amount of money to raise for this. But obviously A16Z is happy to double dip. Same with Framework. Coinbase is happy to get in on that Series B action. So there must be something here.
Yeah, 100%. Let's dive into the website and see what Towns is all about. So I've got the website up here, and already the branding looks pretty nice. The blockchain for communication, very sleek, very simple. You read those four words and you kind of get an idea exactly what it's for. Build, grow, and own your digital town square. I love that, man.
Yeah, and it has shades of Session, this other company that we looked at on a past episode, and we even had an interview with. It looks a little bit like that, like a whole blockchain built out for end-to-end encrypted chats. But I don't know if they had a focus on communities like this. This seems more like a social app or a community-based, like with gated communities. So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
pretty interesting.
It seems completely Web3 native. And so, build value accruing communities. That's an interesting idea. This kind of solves the problem of like meaningless community participation that we see so much in Telegram. How many communities are you a part of that are sort of copy pastes of each other? And they're just like owned by different people, or maybe even owned by the same person. Here it says they've got over 460,000 communities or spaces created, nearly 2 million members, and then over 9,000 ETH in revenue generated. So this is what I mean by Web3 native.
Hmm.
If they're counting revenue in ETH, then this might be like a great community application specifically for the growth of crypto or Web3 industry. But then, it's interesting seeing benchmarks step into it because, I would hope that they're targeting people to enter into these communities and participate in this platform that are not just like Web3 degens as well.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it's able to, but if you go to Open App, I saw that they had some of the examples of the communities in the top right corner, and it showed like some were gated by NFTs, some were just completely free. So I don't know if they count that as a membership. Like Zen Academy, it says it's free, but if you look down, there's like a Slappy Seals community, but you have to have one of those seals to be a member. Others you have to pay like zero point 0.4 ETH a year to be a member. So you have a lot of customizability, if that's even a word, to join
Hmm.
or create these, and that's pretty useful. There's one for Pudgy Penguins as well. There's some for research groups. I imagine that this is useful for anybody that's built up a following on Telegram or has like a sort of signal community as a trader, or maybe they're a meme coin cabal or whatever you want to call it. But there's a lot of reasons why you would want to have one of these gated groups, and you can determine the rules and who gets to participate and what that entails and what the membership fees are, if any. So I think this
Hmm.
is tremendously useful, and I could already see some use cases that I would apply to my own life or our company.
Yeah, 100%. This is really interesting, and it's getting my wheels turning on the tokenomics of this. I mean, they've got this list down here, top towns tokens staked. And so I'm wondering if there's like some access model or there's some participation layer that requires communities to stake tokens. Or is that like tying into what we've seen with this protocol ethos around reputation? Like, does it build more credibility to your community if you've got more money behind it? So yeah, I'm dying to dive back into the tokenomics and see what happens here.
Yeah, and I have a hunch. I mean, you and I have designed governance systems before, and one of the most interesting things you can do is you can have like an underlying asset, like the towns token, for example, here that powers not only the platform wide governance for towns, but also it can be used as a proxy governance asset for some of these sub communities. So you don't need to develop your own token out. You can take payments in ETH or whatever, or you can gate it by NFT, and then you can use towns. Your members can use towns to vote and exert influence within that sub community, or your community can take that staked power and then use it to help govern towns itself, which
Mm,
I would love to see. But maybe they've already thought of that. Maybe they thought of something even better. I'm not sure, but you're absolutely right. Like I think the blockchain aspect of this and the governance is actually pretty strong compared to most
yeah.
of the hollow governance that we see in other apps.
Well, I'll tell you what, you probably don't get A16Z, Coinbase, and benchmark on your cap table with a weak or flimsy token economy or digital asset
Yeah.
use cases. But we've got maybe a list of interesting protocol level features here. End to end encryption, very, very popular nowadays for good reason. Decentralized messaging. This is a space that is getting more and more popular. Ownable communication, which is kind of like the premise behind this whole thing, and programmable spaces. So customization, which we've already, like you mentioned, we've already seen several instances of in the app itself. Like based on what type of community it is, maybe they want to program different types of access or participation models. But again,
Yeah.
nothing around the token yet. We've got some docs down here. Let's see if maybe we could read the
I mean, yeah,
docs.
we see run a node, node network status, and read the docs. So nodes obviously will play a role in this, and they've already advertised that it's a blockchain. So we can anticipate
Mm.
some blockchain token features here that we are familiar with.
So we've got an EVM compatible L2, decentralized off-chain stream nodes. Off-chain stream nodes, interesting. So that might be tied to the end-to-end encryption of messaging and smart
Hmm.
contracts deployed on Base. So we know that it's built on Base, and that might be the big reason why Coinbase came in. But funny enough, Coinbase came in Series B, so maybe they didn't actually make that decision until they got to that Series B milestone where they wanted to bring Coinbase on.
Yeah, I think like I was a little bit confused, but I think there's like the network itself and then the app. So that there's like two different Twitters at least. There's like a town infrastructure labs type thing, and that's built on Base. But then there's like the town's app. So I don't know how they're what
Mm.
their interplay is or how they're integrated with one another. But obviously, they're the same company building both.
Well, this is a very interesting ecosystem. They've got the social graph again, extendable reputation system, and that's exactly what you want to see. The especially in this day and age of AI, and we saw like the corruption of Kaito. Really, like
Hmm.
Kaito seems that it's now useless basically, and everyone was talking about it just a couple of months ago. But I see we've
Yeah.
got some information on the token itself, so maybe we can figure out what this does with the time that we have left.
So to
Oh,
operate, to
that's
operate
10 minutes.
nodes.
Let's take an extra minute.
To operate nodes, nodes must have a minimum requirement of towns tokens delegated to them. So that's
Mhm.
typical of what you would expect for a blockchain. So you have the right to run and help, basically maintain the network, but also earn for the privilege of doing so. So that's pretty typical. I think we saw that as well with sessions. So you need this in order to run a decentralized network for communication, you need people to be willing to earn and help run the network.
Yeah, 100%. And then on that other layer, users, or I'm sorry, spaces can leverage their own token stake for enhanced functionalities and governance. And so it is sort of like an access model for the protocol itself. And this kind of reminds me of like virtuals, for example, right? They've got like a token-based access model when it comes to enhanced features. And so if you stake enough tokens, then maybe you get access to like this really cool premium feature, etc. Both Telegram and Session coincidentally use the same type of business model.
Hmm. Yeah, I think for virtuals they also give you an option it's like dynamic exchange between the two assets. So sometimes it makes more sense to pay with a native token, sometimes it makes more sense to pay with ETH or something else. But they have that lever that they can pull. But here, one thing I'm not clear on is what it costs to run your own town or space. Like if you and I were to
Mhm.
go out and build one for Arcanum, what would it cost us? Like, would it just cost us fees or a percentage of signups or what? How they would do that? But anyways, it makes sense. Like I like how that they prominently displayed on their front page. These are how many people we've signed up. These are how many groups we have, and these are how many. This is how much ETH that we've raised or made in revenue so far. Which is obviously you don't want to hide that. If you're making money, you want to show that quite clearly to the people on Echo that are raising as part of an ICO. You want to show that to Framework. You want to show that to Coinbase. It's obviously very powerful.
100%. And it seems like the principles around this token economy are quite simple. So they've got association initiatives. And so distributing tokens to different individuals or organizations through airdrops, community rewards, or grant programs. And this is interesting because it might get tokens into the hands of people or organizations that want to use them or are interested in the town's protocol. At the same time, you've got aspects of governance and delegation. And so delegation ties to governance. So if you don't want to maybe express your own voice in decentralized decision making. You can delegate your tokens through
Mhm.
yourself as an individual or the town or a space that you're in. And then governance is the big one, right? So besides governance, you've got, I'm assuming, operation of the EVM layer two blockchain. But I can't imagine what type of things they might want to decentrally govern right now, or if they're even going to make any commitments at this point.
I think the last thing, if you go back to the other page, I did see that there was a grants part. No, from the main website. At the bottom, there's something with grants, and I think one thing that they potentially would govern is who they give grants to. So they had a season one, and I love this because they say they're very specific. They're like, you have until April 30th. You have up to $250,000, and then they go through some specific things that they're looking to build on their website, on their app. Sorry, if you go down, it says like they want like help building the social graph. They want help building bots on Town Protocol. They
Oh
want
wow.
entitlement modules. So they're very specific, and they know exactly what they need to scale this network. And they're calling on their community, which is wonderful to see because too often we see blockchains that just they cast a wide net, and they're like, please just come build so we can show our investors that somebody is helping validate this network. Like they're like, no, we know exactly what we need, and we have the budget to help, you know, build our network together. So this is great because you and I have a lot of portfolio companies, and we have even more founders in our network that we don't have the time or the money or the capital or the energy to work with everybody, but we try to funnel them to good programs that are building so that they can find unique and viable ways to get funding. And this is like great. Like if you have anything close to what they've outlined here, obviously you should reach out to towns and say like, hey, we can help build you something right now because we're already working on something similar. So I would love to see more of this actually in Web3.
Mm.
And towns overall just seems like it's embodying what I thought Web3 was supposed to be, like owning your own content, getting away from traditional platforms and all that.
Mm. Yeah, great point. Well, let's wrap it up. That's our 10 minutes, maybe like 15 minutes at this point, maybe 12. I don't know. But yeah, are you ready to dive into verdicts?
Yeah. You want to go first or me?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. And before we do, make sure if you are enjoying this content, tap that like button, give us a subscribe, follow us on X, Telegram, community, everything else. We've got much more fun content, including more eye tests and some exciting interviews on the horizon. But yeah, my verdict is one thumb up. I love this. I love what Towns is doing. I like the aspects around governance. I like what I've seen as far as structuring. Like you mentioned, the grants program is something that I missed on first glance, but this is very, very smart and effective. The cap table, obviously spectacular. There are a number of things that we have not seen, and those things include the team and founder experience and history. If they're even doxed, I hope they are doxed. We haven't seen
They are.
anything around marketing and community, although they do have some numbers on the website around their individual spaces within towns that they've built so far, number of users and revenue. The traction is good there. And then the one big question is, what does the app look like? So we haven't dived into that. That's why I'm only giving it one thumb up. I think this protocol, this application, this blockchain, and maybe this asset are all things that I like what I've seen so far. The only thing left to do is to explore the application and see if there's really some merit behind this, because it could be a bunch of vaporware. I don't know. It could be a pretty bad user interface, especially after 2 funding rounds. You would hope that they've developed the majority of the infrastructure they need, where these 1.7 million users are going to be active on. We have seen a lot of spaces within the towns, but we don't know how active it is still. And we don't know what the overall community sentiment is. So one thumb up. I am willing to dive deeper. This looks cool so far.
Yeah, I think you pretty much said everything I wanted to say mostly, but absolutely. I will say, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Towns started as a Discord add-on to help validate, like, this person owns this many tokens or owns this NFTs. So if that is so, if I'm correct there, this is an amazing path. Like, they started out as like finding that product market fit, and they realized like there's potential to do more here, and that might be the trajectory that got like A16Z and Coinbase and Framework and Benchmark interested in this. So I want to say I also give this a thumbs up. And it sounds a little bit like we're shilling this, but we are. I can assure you that we're not involved in any way with this. We're not invested. We're just pretty impressed by what we've seen so far. And you're absolutely right. Like, the team is docs, but we don't know anything about them. We haven't used this app, and I would like to say, like, a word of caution. Too often people fall into the trap. Like, if this aligns with your ethos and what you want to see out of Web3, you gotta slow yourself down and give yourself time to check it out, because like, I love the idea of this, but you're absolutely right. How is the implementation? Is it clunky? Can I actually imagine non-Web3 people wanting to use this? So you have to take some time and either do it yourself if you're technical, or find somebody you trust that's technical to look under the hood and see, does this actually have end-to-end encryption? Is it actually decentralized, or is this just a buzzword farming that we see all too often? So we would definitely like to check out more about the team, more about the future plans for the company, how many signups they're achieving, or how many people they're attracting to the platform. I would like to say too that they have like 70,000 followers on Twitter, which is minuscule compared to some of the ones we've seen. Yet the launch is doing a hell of a lot better than most of the other ones. So it just goes to show you that these false metrics, having 200,000 followers on Twitter, doesn't guarantee you a successful launch. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to make 9,000 ETH in revenue. Those numbers are way more profound and impactful than how many followers you have on Twitter. So I'd like to mention that to our fellow VCs and launchpads out there. Echo at least saw some potential here. A16Z saw some potential without needing that stupid social validation. So kudos to the team. Wish you the best of luck, Towns. Would love to talk to you on an interview if you're up for it. Yeah. I think that's all I got to say here.
Good job. Yeah,
well done. Refreshing.
Until next time, again, tap that like button, throw us a follow, and stay safe out there, everyone. Thank you.
Ciao.